Hello tankers, you're watching a review of the new Tier 3 premium tank, the MTLS 1G14, with Mr. Boiler. To be correct, this isn't actually a new tank. Back in 2013, World of Tanks introduced 3 low-tier premium tanks. This one was one of them. The other two were the Soviet BTSV and the notorious German Panzer IIJ. The German and Soviet tank were hard to get. You had to spend a couple of $100 on gift packages and you got either the BTSV or the Panzer IIJ. And they were also available in very expensive bundles for a short period of time. On the other hand, the MTLS never really made it into World of Tanks, as it was only available on press account, developer accounts, and super tester accounts. This thing was by many considered a mythical tank, one of the rarest tanks, if not the rarest tank, in this game. But now, in World of Tanks 1.0, you can get the MTLS tank for free by playing a mission in which you have to collect 100 tokens. To collect tokens, you can play on any map that's currently available in World of Tanks, and you get 2 tokens the first time you play on it and 1 token the second time you play on it. I'd recommend playing on every tier because the only requirement is to be among the top 10 best players by experience earned. I wouldn't recommend playing just on lower tier tanks because they get only a small amount of maps to play on, and you will end up playing on the same map a few times. This tank appears in the American tech tree. It was built by an American company called Marmon Harrington at the request of the Dutch East Indies. 125 of these were manufactured. Only 20 were delivered, and none of those tanks saw action. Now let's see the specifications of this tank and how it stacks up against other tier 3 tanks. So first of all, we are going to look at the survivability of this tank. This tank has 230 hit points, which is a little bit less than the New Year's gift, the T-29, and it's pretty much the same as the Panzer 1C. The tank has 38mm of frontal armor at the hull and at the turret, 25 at the sides and 25 at the rear. And as you can see, most of the armor, if not pretty much all of the armor, is flat and it's easy to penetrate. Pretty much you can't rely on the armor. It is a little bit better than the T-29 and the Panzer 1C, but it's good to note that you will be able to deflect shells from guns like the Mauser on the Panzer 1C. Now let's look at the mobility of this tank. This is a 19-ton tank, and it has a really good engine, 500 horsepower. The specific power is even better than on the Panzer 1C. So this tank will be able, going uphill, to be faster than the Panzer 1C. The traverse speed is 42 degrees per second, which is generally considered very good, but compared to the New Year's gift and to the Panzer 1C, it is a little bit worse, but generally it's very good. Now, the concealment of this tank isn't that good. It's just a little bit better than on the New Year's gift. As you can see, the height is pretty much the same. And compared to something like the T-62, you can see how high this thing is. You really need to find a big bush to hide this thing. Now, looking at the spotting, the maximum view range without any upgrades is 280 meters. So you won't be spotting too much on your own. The signal range is also pretty bad, but mostly people do not look at that number. It's not too much interesting. Now, a big deal with this thing is that it is the first tank with a dual firing cannon. But the gun is a little bit different than on the first MTLS, which came out in 2013. So the difference is that back then it had one magazine with five clips, and each clip had 2 shells, one going from the left and the other one going from the right gun. Back then, those guns fired simultaneously, so both of them at the same time. The tank had more clips, so the reload was bigger, at somewhere around 14 seconds, and the penetration of the shells was a little bit different. The regular ammo was 45 millimeters and the premium ammo was 61 millimeters. The dispersion, aiming time, and average damage was pretty much the same. Okay, now the big difference on this new tank is that it only has one clip in the magazine. So in one clip you have two shells, one coming from this and the other coming from this gun. And another difference is that those guns don't fire simultaneously anymore. This one fires and half a second later this one fires, which is pretty annoying when shooting at targets at long and mid-range, because it's really hard to land both of these shots into the tank. Most of the time only one will hit, the second one will most likely miss, because you have to again aim for the tank. All in all, they pretty nerfed the gun of this tank, although some specs such as the dispersion and aiming time haven't been changed. Okay, now the perks you can use are Sixth Sense for Commander and Camouflage for all of the other crew members. The consumables, maybe it's best to use the improved ventilation because it's cheap. The second option is to use the camo net because it's again cheap, around 100,000. The third one is using the coated optics or binocular telescope. I'd rather use the binocular telescope if you have some lying in the depot, but you can also use the coated optics. Next up is a battle with this tank. So we are on the mines map, and here you can see that it's really hard to hit a moving target twice with this gun. You can see that the reload time on this gun is a problem. And there's my first kill. This tank isn't really good going head to head against other tanks, just because of that small reload time and small clip size. It's better just fighting from the back. Okay, the accuracy of this gun is mediocre. The second one went a little bit too high. As you can see, mostly one hits, second one doesn't. Either it fails to hit it or doesn't penetrate. And there's my second kill. The Panzer S-35 is just at low health, just enough so I can kill him. And this guy too. And just as that, I have 4 kills. And again, a low tier tank, and I can kill him with 2 shells. So you can see that this thing is good against lower tier tanks. So if you can keep it alive in the later parts of the battle, it will be very good. As you can see, this thing really accelerates fast. Just as that, we're going more than 40 kilometers per hour. And there's the Top Gun. So even the MTLS isn't a really good tank, you should at least play the missions and try to get the free garage slot that you get with the tank. Thanks for watching this video, and see you next time.